Hey everybody, it's Shelly Hoffman, and it is Wednesday here in the Village of Baldwinsville. So I am speaking with our mayor, Dick Clarke, and he's just going to give us a few updates. I know there's some news I'm hoping to hear from you in regards to the lock. So we'll see what this week brings as far as updates you have for us, sir. How are you?
Good, mostly good news. And I'll try to soften what isn't good, but just so everybody wonders, this is as close as I'm getting to the Outer Banks this year. We normally go in July, but with the virus and with all the nastiness that's going on, and we just didn't want to be away from home. So
No.
I wore my tie dye from Outer Banks. This is my vacation right now. Uh, I thought it was interesting. One of the things that makes Beeville what it is, and we've talked about this. When I go around and ask all the department heads on Monday and Tuesday if they have anything for me to put on, and I sent a message to Mo Butler, our clerk, our village clerk, and she sent me back, "Nope, just doing what we always do." And I thought that sums it up. We don't have to have anything special. We're doing what we always do, and we pretty much, other than a couple of little glitches, we've been doing it from day one. And
Yep.
I'm very proud of our village. The people who work here, the water has flowed with no problems. The sewers have been fixed when there's a problem. The police have been on the job day and night, 24/7. So everybody should feel comfort in knowing that our village has operated at pretty high efficiency considering the situation. I'm
Yeah.
very pleased and proud, and I'd like to take credit for it, but we got a lot of people that deserve the credit. And when we get done, there'll be some time to give some people some credit. But um, the locks opened up Friday.
Good.
We had the meeting with the Canal Corp on the phone, and they announced that the canal had opened up. There has been a couple of comments that I've gotten from people saying that some of the buoys are not in the right place. So I had asked people to call Canal Corp and let them know, because I don't know where they belong and I can't tell them which buoys. And I guess a couple of them have called and Canal Corp thanked them, and so hopefully that'll get rectified.
Okay.
In addition to that, yesterday morning I got a message from Chuck McAuliffe, our DPW foreman, who said the docks were in. So all of our docks over on the wall are in. So hopefully some people will use them and visit our local establishments and spend a little money in the village and help out our local business people. I made a mistake last week. I'll take credit when I make a mistake. This week was not brush week.
You know who you burned with that?
You, I'll bet you, and me. Except I didn't have a lot of brush. But next week it's the first and third of that week of every month, and I thought it was every other week. So
Okay.
so next week, the 6th of July, is a brush week. So get your brush out there. One of our negatives, we haven't figured out how to open the restrooms in the village.
Okay.
We have them at Community Park, at Mercer Park. We have them on the island. We usually put porta potties over by the visitor center. The big problem is you have to keep them clean, and not daily, but we're talking one or two every hour or two. The county had told us 2 hours is what they're doing. Somebody else, I think Bob Wicks may have told me that they were told by the CDC every hour. We would have to hire a cleaning company to come in and take care of our restrooms. I mean, we can do the opening in the morning and clean them. We could probably do one at like 11 o'clock. We'd have to have somebody maybe come in on overtime stay at work overtime at 3 o'clock. But we wouldn't have anybody the rest of the night. And you're talking about shifting schedules and costly overtime, or hiring a company. And we're not ready to do that and spend that kind of money. Everybody's concerned about what they're going to get from the feds and from the state and from the county. And ultimately, we're at the bottom of the food chain. And if we don't get the money we expect to spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a cleaning company to come in and clean outdoor restrooms or park restrooms, right now we're not sure that's a good way to spend our money. And I'm not sure if you clean your restrooms every 2 hours, okay, you clean it at 11 o'clock. At 11:05, somebody who's sick goes into the restroom. That's going to be that way till the next cleaning at 1 o'clock. So have you really made them safe? And right at this point, we're not willing to take that gamble and tell people, yeah, our restrooms are clean, feel free to use them. And then maybe they're not. So if we get a different guidance from somebody, if somebody's, I read something the other day that they're getting more and more convinced that hard surfaces are not where people are getting the virus. So if somebody makes that decision and says to the municipalities out there, this is our belief, this is how we're going to operate. So if you do cleaning like twice a day, that would be adequate. So until then.
Did you see the library put a post on that originally when someone returned a book, they were waiting 7 days. They put it kind of in a quarantine room for 7 days. And then they posted an article, and I apologize, I didn't read the article, but there was something about the hard surfaces. So now they're doing 3 days at the library for book returns. Because sometimes people put books on hold and it's taking them longer to get the on hold books. And obviously the library wants to be safe. I'm thinking our mayor got a call. Did you get a call? I can't hear you. Nope. No. You know what, Mayor, I can give some updates on my end of the village if you want to log out, and then I'll bring you back into the stream like we do sometimes when we get started. And then you should come back with the voice. Okay. So while we wait for the mayor to come back on, the system that I use is great, but sometimes this happens. Like I said, the library. So if that's true about hard surfaces, then maybe that is something that the bathrooms could be open. I went to a restaurant on the water last night, and let's see if he joins us. Are you there?
Hear me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Good.
So I just want to finish the story real quick. I was telling them that I went to a restaurant last night, and you were talking about the bathrooms and if somebody comes in and they're sick. And I was thinking about that with our restaurants in the village. And where I went last night, now it was at Barrio's out there on the water, but they had signs saying one person in at a time. So there's some restrictions there because they can't get in there and clean after every single person comes in and out. So I think each person's trying to do the best that they can, each business, and same thing with the towns, taking the information that we have and kind of going forward with it. But that's a heck of a point. 2 hours is great unless that person that was sick walked in 5 minutes after you cleaned it. So
yeah, and then everybody else who goes in is going to be contaminated. So, and I had to apologize to Pastor Mudge from the Methodist Church because they had their first church on the island Sunday. And I had told him on like Friday that unfortunately you're not going to have restrooms this week. I'll let you know about the future. And so I sent him a message last night asking him how it went and that the restrooms may not be available, for the summer. And he's a very positive guy. And his note back was, it was a little stiff for the first time, no singing, but we made it through. It was a good start. So I'm happy to hear that. He didn't say how many people were there, but it's nice to know.
Yeah, there was about 30 people there. And then I talked to people this past week who were not aware, even if they, not necessarily Baldwinsville First United Methodist Church, because that's, they bring in pastors from other people. But I had some people mention that they might start attending on Sundays because they missed that, just that Sunday morning being together. It's nice that it's been able to continue on Zoom. But I did talk to, I'm a trustee over at the church, and they said there was about 35 people that were there for that first week.
That's
and
great.
There was a little bit of a rain threat too. So they thought that might be, part of it.
Yeah. And then I think with the docks in, might get some people come to church on, stay overnight Saturday night and then wander over from the boat Sunday morning. I think it's terrific. It's great. I'm glad the island gets used. I know that the Zumba people have been dying to get back out there. I think if they're, if they use the distancing and the other safety protocols, I don't see why they couldn't, as long as they kept their crowd down under, you know, 50 people or whatever the limit is now.
Yeah.
You know, we're opening up some things, gives people a little more juice in their life, a little more fun. Um, I think going sounds like funny to say had fun going to church, but I think it is kind of it's the event.
Right.
You're walking out on the island, the river's there, it's just a real nice atmosphere. And so I hope more people take advantage of it. And I appreciate the church and the pastor leading the way, getting people together. Let's see what else. Well, we got done insulating the police station. We had spray insulation up in the roof, and hopefully we can cut down on heat loss and air conditioning loss, and also on icicles. In the wintertime, that's an issue. Let me see. Oh, got good news at the senior center. Their pickup food service where you can go over and pick up a lunch from the Peace lunch people will start a week from Monday on the 13th of July. But you have to call in the senior center at 638-4536 and make a reservation by Thursday, the 9th. And then the following Friday, they'll also have a meal, but you have to call in by the 13th. If you call 638-4536, they'll give you all the details. The first lunch is going to be chopped steak. The next lunch is roast turkey with gravy. It'll be frozen. People will drive up. You stay in your car. They'll look in. Most of the people they'll recognize. They'll go get a bag with your lunch in it, or two, however many you're buying that day, and put it in your car for you. You have to wear a mask in the car, and then you'll drive off. I'm guessing you pay for it over the phone. I'm not sure how all that works, but call Ruth or whoever answers the phone over the senior center, and they'll take care of it. That's a great one. I know she was really excited to hear that they finally got some dates, because people have been clamoring for, they'll get 2 meals a week. Meals on Wheels is still closed. We have started working on the floor over there, removing the asbestos tiles and stuff. So it's going to be a week or so of doing that. And I know that they've stayed closed. They're staying closed for another week after that. I'm under the impression that they are looking for a part-time employee, a cook. So if somebody has some cooking skills that likes to work in the mornings, it's a nice job. You're done by 11 o'clock. I'm guessing they're in at 5 or 6 in the morning to start whatever the hot meal is for the next day or two. They cook ahead and stuff like that. So if anybody's interested in a part-time job, get a hold of Donna Metz at Meals on Wheels. And if you can't get a hold of her, call Ruth at 638-4536, which is the going number today. The farmers market coupons. They've been told they are coming, but what they need is for people to call 638-4536. Let them know you want them. They need to know how many people are going to want to receive them. And then once they know when they're coming in, they'll figure out how to disperse them. So they just need to know if it's going to be 10 people or 30 people. So give Ruth a call. She's been keeping busy. She's trying to figure out some outside programs. I know that she's talked to the Tai Chi people, the Zumba people, whatever, that maybe they can spread out in the parking lot. Maybe the art group could spread out, move the picnic tables apart and have one person per table type stuff. So they're looking for ways to get things going safely, but to give some people something to do. So trying to think if there's anything else with the senior center. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's going well with the police department. Talked to Greg. He said nothing big going on in codes. Still people getting permits. So we are doing a lot of building. We are having our first zoning board of appeals meeting on, I believe, the 12th of July, and it will be live through Zoom because it's a public hearing, and so we have to make it available to the public. So if you go on the Village of Baldwinsville site on Facebook and also on the village website, the information on how to sign on to that Zoom meeting will be there if you have interest in having your opinion heard on whatever the appeal is.
Okay.
It's this one is a rather non-controversial one because it's already had been approved, and then the person's building permit expired because they didn't do the work, and now they're back wanting to get it again. So it's really look at the old meeting minutes, and I'm sure it's not going to be real complicated, but they may take some time to discuss other issues because this is the first time they've been together since the virus impacted us. And then we have some other meetings coming up, planning board, architectural review board, and they will have to use the same Zoom stuff. So thanks to my wife, we've instituted the Zoom for our board meetings, and now she's set up so that all the other boards can use Zoom also. I don't know how long before they're going to tell us they want us back in the meeting room for meetings and opening to the public. I know it was not before July 7th. That was the last thing we heard. The courts are still working on trying to come up with a date to open. I think our court clerk, Cheryl Adsit, had said they had been told maybe the week of the 20th, that Wednesday, whatever it is, 23rd, maybe 22nd, but they're trying to get everything in place now because it's going to be probably by appointment. So you'll make an appointment to see the judge at 4:45, and you'll wait in your car until you get a call from the clerk. Then they'll let you in the door, and then you'll get your temperature taken. You go in, and they're going to be sneeze guards up in front of the judge and the clerk to protect them, and you'll get taken care of. And then at 5 o'clock, the phone call will go to the next person saying, "You're in, come on in," and they'll let them in. So it's going to be a little more complicated, a little more cumbersome, but they are working so that eventually our court will be accessible and we can handle people, live.
Well, and I think by the time the courts open, if you've gone to a doctor's appointment, if you've gotten your hair done, if there's so many things now that you call, you call to tell them you're here, you wait in your car, and then you get called in, that at least by the time the courts, which is kind of a stressful thing to go to anyway, so to add that other level, at least people will kind of be used to that process, for other things going on in life than just the courts. But
Yeah, I would hope so.
yeah.
People are starting to get a little bit more used to it. I know we're still having arguments over masks and stuff, but if people look at what New York has done and how our numbers look versus how Florida, Texas, California, and others have gone when they said, okay, enough of this, we're going to live our lives, come what may, and now they're shutting everything down. So hopefully we don't backslide. I know people are getting frustrated, they're getting tired, but you can still do things. I don't like to preach and all that. I mean, because everybody hears it from everybody. But to me, I don't find it that cumbersome to wear a mask if I have to go into a building. To put a mask on, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and come back out. If that's all it takes to make me quite a bit safer, I think that's a small price to pay, and to keep my wife safe. Most people that I know have been pretty good. I see people. Somebody came to the door the other day with a mask on. I took something to our neighbor, and she came to the door with her mask on. So I mean, people are at least acknowledging that. If it helps 30%, if it makes you 30% safer, is it worth it? Yeah, for me it is. I'm sure for some who are independent thinkers, that doesn't work so well. But otherwise, I don't have anything else. Our village, as I said, is ticking along pretty good. I know I keep hearing comments about why don't we just shoot off fireworks and people can sit in their homes and you think
So,
anybody's going to sit in
so
their home when there's fireworks going off?
what is the rule, if you don't mind? Because I was actually going to ask Chief Leffencheck, but I'm not going to talk to him until after the 4th of July. But so I came from Pennsylvania, which everybody probably knows by now. And when I first moved to New York, we weren't even allowed to have sparklers. And then after a couple years of living here, I think, you could have the sparklers. So now I see the fireworks tents. If you buy, did New York legalize? Oh, Greg wants to know if New York legalized. My question is the firework tents that we see set up in parking lots. If you get the things that are in those tents, are you allowed to set them off, or are you not really allowed to set them off? Like, I guess that's been my confusion.
Yeah. Ryan McMahon the other day said if it goes in the air, it's illegal.
Okay.
So in other words, sparklers or things that sit on the ground and like rotate and throw off sparks or that stuff is not considered fireworks.
Okay.
If it goes in according to him, and I don't know if that's just his interpretation or if that's how the county enforces it, but if it goes in the air, it's illegal.
Okay.
And I'm guessing, from what I'm hearing, I don't hear a lot of them around us. Please don't jinx me by saying that, but I haven't heard a lot. But I've heard other people say that they're hearing it different places. Somebody sounded like gunshots, and somebody said, "Well, I think it was fireworks or firecrackers."
Yeah.
But I guess the city police have been nonstop answering calls for fireworks, and I understand it started like Memorial Day, and it's been going nonstop. I mean, you can sort of on the 4th of July, like it's a Saturday this year, so you would figure Friday night people are going to be setting off firecrackers. Saturday there's going to be fireworks for people to see somewhere, in the normal setting. And then even Sunday, people are still getting rid of some, firecracker type stuff. So you hear it for a couple days, but when you hear it for a month and a half, it gets a little old. And some people have issues. I mean, we had a person complain a couple years ago about his dog. He said every time the fireworks is off, my dog pees all over the house. So I called him up. That was an email. So I called him up and I said, I have a suggestion for you. We have fireworks one time this year on X day. Why don't you put your dog in the car and take him for a ride? Go to Hyde's and buy him a hot dog and come back when the fireworks is all over. Geez, I didn't think about that. So, I mean, for one day, but I understand too, we have veterans, and I'm very sympathetic to that. Again, we always announce when our fireworks are going to happen. So if you know that at 9:30 on Saturday night there's going to be fireworks, go to Hyde's, go to Tully's, and have a sandwich, and go to a friend's house in another community for a couple hours, and then come home after it's over. I understand how hard it is, and I can't imagine what it'd be like to have that kind of when they start going off. I mean, you flinch and you get panicky, and I have all the sympathy in the world.
Yeah.
But we don't do fireworks every week.
You said it best in the beginning. Obviously that gentleman with the dog, that's horrible, just because you can't clean up dog urine when it's everywhere. It's hard. But I know there's a friend of mine that lives in a different community, and they literally have been going off every night since Memorial Day. And they do have a dog that goes and hides. It's not a huge joy, but they feel bad because the dog goes and hides in the bathroom. And again, it's every night. But when you do have an announcement, or like you said, the 4th of July, where the expectation is there, but on, June 15th for no reason at all when they start going off. But I just wasn't sure, because you see things getting sold, at different places. And then I kept hearing they weren't allowed. I'm a little nervous of fireworks. I enjoy watching them. I don't like to light anything on fire intentionally, but they, the kids do like the sparklers, which we always have a bucket of water next to, and you dump them in the water when they're done. But I was curious, and like I said, I was going to ask Chief Leffencheck about it, just in case my kids were asking or we see them, because I've always told them they were illegal. So that's a good way of putting it. If it's up in the sky, then it's illegal. So
and I figured the county executive might know,
maybe.
I mean, as far as I've known forever, fireworks were always illegal. Everybody went to Pennsylvania to get them. you know, because you cross the border, and there's that on 81. There's that first place. I don't know if it's West Bend or whatever, is when you first cross in, and there's fireworks signs on the 2 or 3 gas stations that are there. I mean,
Yep.
it's a big deal. And as you go south, you see a lot of it. You know, Virginia and North Carolina and places like that. I guess I always thought, I had heard years ago that it wasn't illegal to have them; it was illegal to sell them. And I don't know if that's still the case. Like, you can stop and you have fireworks. You're allowed to have the fireworks. It's just you're not allowed to sell them in the state. I'm not 100% sure. So,
Well, when I talked to the chief, I think I'm supposed to talk to him on Monday. You know, if everything, as long as his schedule is available, I might ask him post 4th of July firework questions so that I have the answers for next year. So the other thing I want to mention is Cindy, your sister, had talked about, and I agree with her, the paved roads look nice. The flowers are looking pretty around the village. It's just, you know, it's really nice. There's a lot more people walking around, and I think the village looks really nice. So she wanted to say thanks to the highway department. She thinks they're doing a fabulous job.
They've done a nice job. They hired a new flower lady this year, and she's catching up. I mean, it was more than I think she realized, as far as how much area where we have flowers and the weeding and taking care of them. And we've had one of our summer help do watering of the hanging plants 2 days a week to give her more time with the flowers instead of dividing her day up every time she works. The pots that are on the side of the road that the garden club put together, I think are gorgeous. They're different this year, a little less flower and a little more greenery, and I think they look beautiful for our village. You know, when the flags are up, you know, you can't ask for much more than driving through the streets of downtown, seeing all that. So feel pretty good about that. I'm kind of hoping that our virus news gets better and better. It has been good around. I mean, our infection rate now is under 1%, you know, tested people. So that's good news. Less people in the hospitals, less critical. You know, that's all good news. Still a little hard for us to let go and just say, well, such good news that we're just going to, you know, cast everything aside and be, you know, brave and daring. I mean, I'm past the.
Well, I'm a little bit like I always say, there's people on 2 different sides, and I'm probably floating in the middle. I did decide. So many people have asked me when I'm going to have people over at the house. They want to see the house, so I'm having a 4th of July picnic. It's an all day, meaning 1 o'clock to whenever, so that way it's kind of spread out. And my social distancing technique, so if you drive past, you can laugh. I'm giving everybody a pool noodle so that they can literally swing it to keep people 6 feet away from them. So I'm making a lot of pool noodle fightings in my backyard. But I thought the side yard, the front yard, the pool.
And then you get to see Chief Leffencheck in a hurry. Oh, well. I'm going to drive by just to see it.
So.
Well, you have a nice 4th of July.
But I, you know, and again, I'm hoping the amount of time of the picnic, the space of the backyard, the house, the pool, you know, that, and then the noodles. And then obviously, you know, people are 6 feet apart. They don't need the mask, but if somebody wants to be super close in a conversation, you know. And then we'll have, my kids were laughing, I'll have sanitation tables, you know, little random tables with some hand sanitizer and stuff. And again, it's not a huge picnic, don't get me wrong, but it's under the 25, I think, that we're allowed to have for different gatherings. But obviously this is a social gathering, so it's not really supposed to happen. So don't tell the mayor.
Hey, look, I'll have the scanner on Saturday just so I can keep track if there's any problems.
Okay. So, but I'm looking forward to the weekend. I think, you know, the 4th of July is just, with everything that's been happening over the last few months, and the cases going down, the restrictions. I know it does stink. I have a friend that went out of town a couple weeks ago. She's coming back. She never expected to be on quarantine when she comes back, but she went to Tennessee, and that's one of the states that when you come back, and she's not complaining. She understands it, you know, but it is difficult because she can do some work from from home online, but there's some things that she needs to be in person to do. I was actually going to have her come to an appointment with me for the payroll protection plan because she's my bookkeeper. And I thought it would be good to have her at that meeting with me at the bank, but she can't come so I'm going to see if we can Zoom or something.
Yeah, okay.
So that, there's still those little inconveniences more so than the mask. I don't think the mask, I'm kind of on the same line with you. I'm not a huge fan of wearing them when it's hot and in the stores, but if I get uncomfortable in a store, I just check out. I'll go back and get what I need later. So.
And just to note, we sent a memo around to all the village offices and stuff, but the governor has stated that if you go to one of those states and come back and you're quarantined, you're not eligible for the state's 14 days of like grace period days off.
Really?
Your sick days are going to have to come out of your sick day pile, or you have to take vacation days if you can't work, if you can't work from home. So if you're a construction worker and you have to be on the job and you're quarantined for 2 weeks because you were in Tennessee or North Carolina, one of those states, the state will not give you. They've removed the 14 days of free sick days. So now you have to. You're responsible. So
yeah, I did not know
it could get a little costly for people that don't have any sick time left. They may just not get paid. So it's something to think. I know some people distant family type stuff that have said that their family was going to come up from Texas, but they've canceled that, partly because I think they don't want to go back and be quarantined because if they have jobs, it'll mess them up. And other people that were going to go visit people in Texas are not going to go. They're not happy, but they're not going. So it does affect people, and it would behoove those states to take some action to cut the numbers down to eliminate that annoyance for people. So
well, and it's just not the United States. My son, as you know, was a senior, so instead of having a graduation party for him, I was actually taking him to a trip to Ireland, and it was planned for August. And Ireland has a 14-day quarantine policy. So if we fly into Ireland, we're quarantined for 14 days. My trip was only 10 days. So we're not going. Which I don't know if we would have gone anyway, but yeah.
Yeah. Very good. So you have a great 4th of July, and I want to wish everybody in the community a great 4th of July. Stay safe, both with the virus and the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. Just enjoy the good weather and sunshine and be thankful for what you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So enjoy your day, Mayor. Nice talking with you.
Okay, Shelley. Bye-bye.